Two convicted prisoners are still on the run. David Sweat and Richard Matt escaped from their high-security prison in upstate New York nearly 2 weeks ago. About 1,000 officers from multiple agencies are helping with this search, but the pair have managed to elude authorities. Jonathan Gilliam knows firsthand the challenges of tracking these men down. He has led manhunts as a former special agent for the FBI, and he joins me from New York City. Jonathan, welcome to the program. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Surprised by how long these men have survived out there without being caught?
You know, not really, and I'll tell you why. Because they're really close. That prison is really close to a large hunting area. So there's all kinds of cabins that are stocked and left pretty much abandoned until the season starts. So, you know, I think now we see what probably happened is that they got out of the prison and either made their way to a cabin or have gone from cabin to cabin. But nonetheless, they've ended up getting caught up in a cabin where they had shelter, water, and food.
Well, at some point, though, if they're in a cabin, if they're static, even if they're moving from cabin to cabin, how do you tackle that as, you know, one of the officers on the hunt for these two?
Well, it really comes down, in my opinion, it comes down to starting the search off correctly, covering the leads correctly. You have to categorize each lead that comes in. When you assign that lead, you have to make sure that that's also logged so that you don't re-assign the lead to somebody else. And then when it's covered, you have to get rid of that lead so that you don't recover the leads over and over again. Now, if they do that, plus they set up adequate perimeters and try to stay ahead of these individuals, they'll eventually close in on them. I'm not real sure if that worked in this particular way here. It seemed like they were throwing a lot of guys at each lead that they got, and that is typically ineffective, and that may be why they didn't close in on them at first.
You know, 2 weeks sounds like an awful long time to be escaped from prison. Could they be getting help? I mean, they got help getting out of prison, allegedly.
Well, okay, so here's what we have to look at. If they got help, the chances of them staying within 20 miles of the prison is slim to none. I think if you don't have help, or these individuals do not have help, then they have to turn to crime, because they don't have money, shelter, or water. They have to turn to crime in order to further their distance from the prison. So it looks to me like that's what they did. They broke into one of these cabins. They found some food and some water and shelter, and you know, they got frozen. They got stopped right there. And now that's what I'm assuming now based on the leads that we have. The reality is, you never know what the case may be, and you can't say it's over until you have cuffs on those individuals, handcuffs.
I also want to know, I mean, you guys have bounty hunters down there in the States. Why not put a price on their heads and let the professional bounty hunters go out? You save all that money on police. Does that make sense?
Well, sometimes, I would say a lot of the times, the word professional and bounty hunter are not used in the same sentence.
Okay.
We're talking about, you know, guys who go out and they just become a bounty hunter. There's no formal training. I tell you who they could be using, though, more of are professional trackers. There's dozens of these individuals all over the United States. I'm sure they're in Canada. And the law enforcement should really be reaching out for those individuals, because they are experts at tracking. Cops are not necessarily experts at tracking through the woods, and that's what we're doing here.
Right. I'm wondering if Canada is kind of the elephant in the room here. Are there comments you've heard, discussions about, well, they could have gone to Canada because, you know, that border is difficult, or not? Right.
You know what? Actually, Canada is involved in this search. They do have Canadian mounted police that are a part of the search, because it does include, part of the search area did include Canada. So they are involved, and we work task force with Canadian officers all the time, and it's a good relationship.
At what point, Jonathan, does the police have to say, I don't know, we're failing badly on this? I mean, it's been 2 weeks. Is there a timeline?
I think there will be a timeline. Once you hit about 30 days, the money that is being spent on these task force and the movement of these men and women to go out and search, it's just going to become too great. And I think if they've survived 30 days on the run, the chances are they're going to continue to go, and it's going to become a long-term investigation.
Wow. Well, I hope that is not the case. I want to thank you, though, for letting me pick your brain. I appreciate it, Jonathan. You take care.
Be safe.
Former FBI Special Agent Jonathan Gilliam in New York.